Good morning. Our current Bible study at Kinver Methodist Church is based on the life of King David that we find in the Old Testament books of 1 and 2 Samuel. It's a fascinating story and one that has much to say to us about God's ultimate King, Jesus. Over the next few weeks, we'd like to share some of the things that we've learned and talked about during our study sessions. The action takes place around 1000 years BC, which means during the period known as the Iron Age. It is a time of great change for Israel. Having been led to the Promised Land by Moses and then Joshua, the people have fallen into spiritual decline and are surrounded by enemies. Saul is the king, and things are not going well. Samuel the prophet listens to God and obeys him as a new leader for Israel is sought. David's story begins in the first book of Samuel, where he is chosen by God, anointed by Samuel, and filled with God's Spirit. So I will read from 1 Samuel chapter 16 and the first 13 verses. The Lord said to Samuel, "How long will you mourn for Saul, since I have rejected him as king over Israel? Fill your home with oil and be on your way. I am sending you to Jesse of Bethlehem. I've chosen one of his sons to be king." But Samuel said, "How can I go? If Saul hears about it, he'll kill me." The Lord said, "Take a heifer with you and say, 'I have come to sacrifice to the Lord.' Invite Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show you what to do. You are to anoint for me the one I indicate." Samuel did what the Lord said. When he arrived in Bethlehem, the elders of the town trembled when they met him. They asked, "Do you come in peace?" Samuel replied, "Yes, in peace. I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Consecrate yourselves and come to the sacrifice with me." Then he consecrated Jesse and his sons and invited them to the sacrifice. When they arrived, Samuel saw Eliab and thought, "Surely the Lord's anointed stands here before the Lord." But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." Then Jesse called Abinadab and made him pass in front of Samuel. But Samuel said, "The Lord has not chosen this one either." Jesse then made Shammah pass by, but Samuel said, "Nor has the Lord chosen this one." Jesse made 7 of his sons pass before Samuel. But Samuel said, "The Lord has not chosen these." So he asked Jesse, "Are these all the sons you have?" "No, there is the youngest," Jesse answered. "He's tending the sheep." Samuel said, "Send for him. We will not sit down until he arrives." So he sent for him and had him brought in. He was glowing with health and had a fine appearance and handsome features. Then the Lord said, "Rise and anoint him. This is the one." So Samuel took the horn and anointed him in the presence of his brothers. And from that day on, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David. So we see here that King Saul is in trouble and his rule is coming to an end. He wanted to do things his way rather than seeking God's wisdom. He is rash and irresponsible and shows no remorse when he's made bad decisions. Samuel, on the other hand, trusts and obeys God and goes to see Jesse in Bethlehem, even though he's very worried about what Saul might do. God is in control. He knows all things. He sees all things, loves his people, longs to bless them, and he has a plan. Jesse presents his tall, strong sons to Samuel, but God isn't interested in how these people look or how impressive they are in the eyes of their countrymen and women. He wants a man after his own heart, as he says in 1 Samuel in chapter 13. And so he chooses David, the young shepherd. Jesse didn't even think of introducing David to Samuel because he thought he was so insignificant. David was a fine, healthy young man, but that's not why God chose him. He wanted David to be the king because of what was in his heart. God can use people and ways of doing things that might seem unlikely or even foolish in the eyes of the world. Remember the description of Jesus in Isaiah chapter 53. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we would desire him. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain, like one from whom people hide their faces. He was despised, and we held him in low esteem. We would surely not have picked the man Jesus or his death on the cross as a way to save the world. The Israelites would not have chosen young David to bring stability and defeat their enemies. In the rest of 1 Samuel chapter 16 and subsequently, it's amazing to see how David goes on to serve the failing King Saul with respect and sensitivity. As we read, the Spirit of the Lord was powerfully upon David, so he was able to use his talents and skills in the service of the King, his people, and most importantly, the Lord Almighty. A prayer. Dear God, help us to be like David, someone after your own heart. Thank you that in your wisdom you can use the foolish things of this world. Thank you that through the folly of the cross and the weakness of Christ, you save people like us. May we always seek your wisdom and strength. Amen. And the hymn I've chosen to go with those thoughts this morning is called "Oh, for a Heart to Praise My God." And you'll find it in the link below. Thank you.